We use our hands for so many things. Most jobs depend on the use of our hands, and we would soon discover just how much we take them for granted if something were to go wrong. The intricate relationship between the working parts in our hands makes repair of hand injuries rather difficult. The hand may suffer loss of motion, dexterity and grip, and no longer be able to perform the simplest of tasks. In this DVD, we'll take a look at the most common causes of hand injuries and the ways they can be avoided. Hand hazards in the workplace. Hand injuries in the workplace could take the form of anything from burns, skin rashes and insect stings to cuts, punctures, fractures and long-term disabilities, even amputations. Many injuries can be associated with handling of tools, harmful substances and dangerous tasks. But more often than not, the most common causes are simply carelessness, ignorance, laziness, or disregard for safety procedures. In other words, protecting our hands from needless injury is first and foremost our responsibility. Let's take a look at some of the basics to keep in mind to look after these tools. Hand safety precautions. The best line of defense against hand injuries is to make sure you're aware of potential hazards in your work environment and familiarize yourself with all safety procedures and instructions. Wear the required personal protective equipment. Always practice good hygiene and get the necessary first aid as soon as an accident happens. Tool safety. Any tools used in the work environment can be potentially hazardous if not used correctly. But obviously, some tools should be used with particular care. Screwdrivers. When using a screwdriver, don't hold the objects you're working on in your hand. Place it on a flat surface or in a vice grip. Use the correct size driver for the screw. Don't use screwdrivers with chipped tips. Don't use a screwdriver as a chisel or a pry bar. Knives. Use safety knives wherever possible. Keep knife blades sharp. Cut away from your hands and body, not towards them. Do not use knife blades as screwdrivers. Avoid two people working on the same object if one is using a knife. Hammers. Never use a hammer with a splintered, cracked or loose handle. Don't use a hammer with a rounded striking face. Don't strike a hammer face with another hammer. Don't use nail hammer claws as a pry bar. Use the correct hammer for the job. hand saws. Spray saw blades lightly with lubricant prior to use. Keep a moderate pressure on the saw to prevent blade failure. Keep blades sharp. Chisels. Don't use chisels with mushroomed heads. Don't use chisels as pry bars. Use the correct chisel for the job. Wrenches. Don't use pliers with worn grooves or crescent wrenches with worn or sprung jaws. Don't use pliers or crescent wrenches on over-tight bolts and nuts. Never use a cheater bar on a wrench. As far as possible, always pull on wrenches rather than pushing them. Use the correct size wrench for the job. Bench grinders. Never wear gloves when using a bench grinder. Never remove guards. Maintain proper clearances on tool rests and tongue guards. Use vice grips when grinding small parts. General precautions. Handling a load. When handling a load, use taglines. Wear leather gloves. Never place your hand on top of the load or between the load and a fixed object. Inspect hooks and chain slings before use. Never hang a load from the hook tip unless it's designed for it. Thermal considerations. Use tongs or appropriate gloves to handle hot or cold equipment. Insect and animal bites. Use caution when moving debris piles or equipment which has been left standing for long periods of time. Don't stick your hands in holes, crevices, and other secluded places, including work boots which have been sitting for a while. Avoid areas where insects nest or congregate, such as stagnant pools of water, uncovered foods, areas where flowers are blooming, and garbage cans. Also remember, never dispose of used razor blades, broken glass, or other sharp objects in regular rubbish bins. These should be disposed of in the appropriate hazardous waste receptacles. Personal protective equipment. Gloves come in a number of different materials, from cotton, leather, and Kevlar to insulative and other protective synthetics. Make sure you have the right choice for the job at hand, or in other words, if the glove fits, wear it. Hand care and sanitation. Correct hand care and sanitation is another important aspect of protection. Wash hands immediately after using any chemicals, even if no leakage was detected. Avoid washing hands with solvents, harsh soaps, or abrasives. Clean and bandage all cuts and abrasions, removing any embedded foreign materials. Pay attention to skin rashes. Always get an immediate medical evaluation. When using rubber gloves, wear cotton ones underneath to reduce sweating. Hand exercises can go a long way in reducing the risk of muscle, joint, and ligament injury. Remember to do a few exercises like finger and thumb flexors and wrist movements before and between the tasks to build up strength and provide a break from repetitive motions. First aid. The following are some simple first aid steps to follow for common hand injuries. For a minor cut, clean with soap and warm water and cover it with a sterile bandage. For more serious cuts, apply pressure and elevate the hand above the shoulder. For minor burns, hold the area under cool running water for at least 10 minutes or until the stinging subsides. More serious cases, such as electrical burns, should be seen to by a medical professional. For a sprain, keep the hand still and apply cold compressors to reduce pain and swelling. In the case of a fracture or a broken bone, keep the hand still and seek professional help. For amputations, apply pressure to the injured area immediately. Preserve the amputated part in a plastic bag and put it in ice water or ice, but do not allow the amputated parts to come in contact with the ice. So, now you know even more than you wanted to about the hazards and the prevention of hand injuries in the workplace. There's no excuse now. The power is in your hands.